Good morning, good afternoon, or good evening from wherever you're watching or listening. My name is Caleb Glick. I'm a lawyer here in the great state of Texas with the Calhoun School of Law to bring you a lot of information plenty of bad folks would rather you not have. Today we're going to be providing another installation into our U.S. Constitutional Amendment series going on number 14. So if you haven't gone back and watched 1 through 13, I would encourage you to do so because understanding the Constitution in totality is, of course, quintessential in defending against any sort of lawfare attacks that might be waged against you, your family, or your property. But before we get on to number 14, I'm excited to announce that I've published my first novel titled Lawfare, Abolish the American Bar Association. If you're curious about the foundational reasons for the Calhoun School of Law, as well as who the deep state actually is, go ahead and pick up a copy of the novel as it explains in great detail how the titular organization, the American Bar Association, best fits the title of deep state rather than these other entities and agencies that we tend to give that title to. So if you'd like to have either of those questions answered, go ahead and pick up a copy off of Amazon. It's available in digital, paperback, and hardcover. Excellent. So let's go ahead and jump over to the U.S. Constitution. This is going to be Amendment 14. Now, it's quite wordy, but it's because it attempted, not constitutionally, to change quite a few of the provisions in the preceding articles of the U.S. Constitution. So this one actually has quite a few of the same problems that Amendment 13 had. If you would like more information on it specifically, I'm going to try to keep this one concise. If you want more information specifically about Amendment 14 and how it was not constitutionally ratified, there's a fantastic article, a great explanation posted at the Abbeville Institute, written by Forrest McDonald, titled, "Was the 14th Amendment Constitutionally Ratified or Implemented?" Great, pretty short read, take you maybe 20-30 minutes to get through, but very well and very thoroughly outlines exactly why the 14th Amendment was in fact not ratified in pursuance to Article 5 of the U.S. Constitution. So let's just talk about the problems that are contained within Amendment 14 after we read through it. So Amendment 14, passed by Congress June 13th, 1866, ratified July 9th, 1868. Note Article 1, Section 2 of the Constitution was modified by Section 2 of the 14th Amendment. So Section 1, all persons born or naturalized in the United States and subject to the jurisdiction thereof are citizens of the United States and of the state wherein they reside. No state shall make or enforce any law which shall abridge the privileges or immunities of citizens of the United States, nor shall any state deprive any person of life, liberty, or property without due process of law, nor deny to any person within its jurisdiction the equal protection of a law. So really getting pretty far into state authority. This U.S. Constitution was to protect state sovereignty and the existence of the individual and independent states. It was not to create the government that the 14th Amendment is trying to, unconstitutionally by the way, impose onto the states, really getting into and intermingling with the infrastructure and the governance that the states conduct. Section 2 says representatives shall be appointed among the several states according to their respective numbers, counting the whole number of persons in each state, excluding Indians not taxed. But when the right to vote at any election for the choice of electors for President and Vice President of the United States, representatives in Congress, the executive and judicial officers of a state, or the members of the legislature thereof, is denied to any of the male inhabitants of such state being 21 years of age. Of course, that was an addition. That's why it's in brackets. And citizens of the United States, or in any way abridged except for participation in rebellion or other crime, the basis of representation therein shall be reduced in the proportion which the number of such male citizens shall bear to the whole number of male citizens 21 years of age in such state. Section 3 says no person shall be a senator or representative in Congress or elector of president and vice president, or hold any office, civil or military, under the United States or under any state, who, having previously taken an oath as a member of Congress or as an officer of the United States, or as a member of any state legislature, or as an executive or judicial officer of any state, to support the Constitution of the United States, shall have engaged in insurrection or rebellion against the same, or given aid or comfort to the enemies thereof. But Congress may by a vote of 2/3 of each house remove such disability. Section 4 states the validity of the public debt of the United States authorized by law, including debts incurred for payment of pensions and bounties for services in suppressing insurrection or rebellion, shall not be questioned. But neither the United States nor any state shall assume or pay any debt or obligation incurred in aid of insurrection or rebellion against the United States, or any claim for the loss or emancipation of any slave, but all such debts, obligations, and claims shall be held illegal and void. Section 5 states that Congress shall have the power to enforce by appropriate legislation the provisions of this article, which was changed by Section 1 of the 26th Amendment. So the problems here, of course, are numerous, so we won't go over them specifically because, once again, I want to keep these concise and provide you the information. Provide you the information as simplistically as it's stated. The problem with this, and you'll see perfectly predicted by the Anti-Federalists, it is a huge, enormous, immense encompassing and absorption of state sovereignty and state governing powers. Things like saying, here, no state shall make or enforce any law which shall abridge the privileges or immunities of citizens of the United States. You don't get to determine that, federal government. The entire reason federal government you exist is to make certain the states can actually go about doing things like that. And what the founders said to individuals who disagreed, so in the modern context, you would say, well, how abusive of you, Caleb, how tyrannical of you. Why don't you want that protection? Well, the founders didn't want it either, because the founders would have told individuals who would say something like that it's absurd not to want this protection. The founders would tell that person, if you don't like how a state runs its government, vote with your feet. That's why we say, with the United States, you have to promise, Article 4, Section 4, you have to promise to your citizens, in order to be annexed as a state, you have to promise to your citizens a Republican form of government. Part of a Republican form of government is voluntarily, without any intrusion, having the ability to leave that government. A Republican government, if you look into the etymology of it, and that's absolutely a lesson or a lecture coming further down the line, the difference between a Republican form of government and a democracy is majority rule. In a republic, it's representative democracy. Well, not representative democracy, excuse me. That's what the public education will tell you. The public education system will tell you. A republic is vote by majority with protections for the minority. Well, Caleb, that system could never work. That's for debate. That's what the founders established. That's what the founders designed. And if you want more historical context about that, just let me know in the comments and I can provide it, because they articulated in very great length in the Robert Yates journals of the Philadelphia Convention debates, in the Federalist Papers and the Anti-Federalist Papers, exactly what they meant by a Republican form of government, which absolutely requires protections for the minority, so that way they are not tyrannized by the majority. Amendment 14, however, is the exact opposite of a Republican form of government. It is ruled by a majority through an abusive, tyrannical, and encroaching federal government. A federal government that stole powers from the states that it was never designed to have, which is why Amendment 13, 14, and 15 had to be implemented by changing the rules, breaking the Constitution, and imposing it rather than ratifying it. Excellent. So if you have any questions about number 14 or amendments 1 through 13, please post them in the comments. If there's a topic you'd like me to cover in a future lecture, also post those in the comments, because the entire point of the Calhoun School of Law and these lectures being posted on rumble.com is for your benefit. And I would rather, it feels like there's something on my lip. Maybe a mustache hair. The entire purpose of these being posted on Rumble is for your benefit, and I would rather serve that purpose exceptionally rather than insufficiently. So please, if you have any questions at all or a topic you'd like me to cover in a future lecture, please post those in the comments. Why? Because it's not a matter of if, but when this ever-growing hostile lawfare state comes to harass you or your family, then I want you to be very well equipped to defend yourself against any attacks they may levy against you, your loved ones, or your hard-earned property. Excellent. So my name is Caleb Glick. I'm a lawyer here in the great state of Texas with the Calhoun School of Law to bring you a lot of information that, especially with this topic, many would rather you not have. Once again, if you have any questions, please post those in the comments. I hope you enjoyed this lecture. I'm not too sure what the next lecture is going to be about, but I'll do my best to make it as informative and entertaining as this one, if not more so, because once again, these lectures are solely for your benefit. I hope you'll have a wonderful day, and until the next lecture, regardless the topic, I bid you all farewell.